Hey guys, so posting a video right now feels a bit narcissistic, but I just wanted to. I finished two books this weekend, um, and I continued reading another book. You can probably guess what that book is, but I just wanted to give you an update on my reading and just say a few words about my reading for the semester, because today was the first day of my semester, and I've gotten the syllabi for the two courses I'm taking, and there's a bunch of other things that I know are happening, and I just want to talk about where my reading is might go this semester. So the first book I finished this weekend was Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe. I mentioned that I wasn't sure I was going to continue with it, and then I just kind of, right after saying that, just went and finished it. Uh, because it's short, and I basically know the story, so it was easy reading. But yeah, I was underlining up the wazoo at the beginnings and the end, at the beginning and the end of this play. The language is obviously beautiful, but the middle parts are really funny. The parts where Faustus starts playing tricks on other people with his newfound powers. He plays a trick on the Pope and several other people, and just a thought. I feel like Dr. Faustus is one of those characters who we all kind of like to point out their character flaws and the things they do wrong and their mistakes. But I feel like kind of deep down, at some level, we all probably want to be him. I think on some level, probably everyone wishes they had the guts to sacrifice what he sacrifices to gain that kind of power. And, especially at the scene where he mutes the several people who were calling him out for playing tricks on them. And that scene where he charms them into not being able to talk, like, I just felt, who in the world hadn't at some point wished they could do that, had that kind of power, even if they sacrificed that much for it. You know, Even if those people are in the wrong, or maybe especially when the other people calling you out are in the wrong. So yeah, I think Dr. Faust is a super relatable character, actually, and yeah, I did love this. And obviously the last speech that he gives, the last monologue he gives, is beautiful. And the next book I finished was Disturbing the Peace, which is an interview that Václav Havel did with a Czech journalist named Karl Hvíždala, and I'm considering doing a video about this unto itself, but it's sort of part memoir. He talks about his life, but he also just talks about the totalitarian regime in Czechoslovakia in general, talking about not so much critiquing the regime, because I don't think he really needs to critique it. I think it's kind of, you take it for granted that the regime is pretty bad, but talking about kind of the relationship between everyday people and the regime, and the effects that they can have on the regime. But he covers a lot of other topics too. He talks about his plays. He talks about what his plays are about. He talks a bit about existentialism and the theater of the absurd, which he's a part of. He talks a bit about how the West perceives Czechoslovakia and the East in general, the Eastern Europe at that time. This interview is, I believe, from 1985. So obviously Václav Havel hadn't become a politician. He didn't know obviously that he was going to be president one day. So it's interesting to read it in that light, looking at him not knowing that that's in his future, but looking at him kind of speculating about the future. So yeah, there were big passages that I underlined. I love his intellectual integrity. You get the sense, and he says explicitly, that you never want to take any hard and fast categories and hold to them rigidly, because just because you always want to keep an open mind, and that's something I really relate to and I really like. And I think he also at one point just talks about something that he thinks is important to life, is not taking yourself too seriously, because if you take yourself too seriously, you kind of open yourself up to being made a fool of. And he talks about how when you're dealing with kind of the serious parts of life, it's important to not neglect those parts of life that seem mundane or maybe even silly, because they kind of keep you sane while you're going through something crazy. And that, I think, resonated with me in particular because I'm about to apply to PhD programs, and that's a very kind of big, important event in life that is really stressful. And I'm hoping that this channel can remain a sort of avenue for me to just come and relax and talk about books. So yeah, anyway, so that kind of leads me into what I started reading today, and it's another Václav Havel, The Power of the Powerless. I just read the introduction today, which is by Luke something. It's by, oh no, Stephen Luke, sorry. Just giving a rundown of what these essays cover. They talk a lot about, again, the totalitarian regime in Czechoslovakia and the individual's relation to it, what individual people do to hold up the regime without knowing it, or what they can do to undermine the regime. Yeah, so I think this will be really interesting. So, yeah, not very far into it. But, and then the other thing I began today was Love and Garbage by Ivan Klima. I'm like 10 pages in. There's that. It's sort of an odd novel about a man who is a street sweeper in communist Czechoslovakia. And, yeah, I don't know. So far, he's basically just described street sweepers. Street sweepers in the Czech Republic are still a thing in the Czech Republic, where you can make a few extra dollars by volunteering to go out or a few extra crowns, I guess, by volunteering to go out into the street and clean the streets, basically, of garbage. Hence the title of the novel, Love and Garbage. Yeah, hopefully I will continue with those. I am continuing to read The Taming of the Shrew, which I have this lovely bookmark for, but I'm enjoying it. And I've also actually, Bloom only has like 8 pages about Taming of the Shrew, so I've already read it, but I'm going to talk about those on Friday to keep with the format of the read-along. Then I just wanted to talk about how I'm going to read, what I'm going to read over the semester, and where my reading might go. And basically, I just want to say that I'm going to set myself at 50 pages per day for reading, which already feels like a lot for me. Usually when I'm in the semester, I read between 20 and 30 pages a day, just as a rule, because I always read less during the semester because I'm in school and I'm already reading for school, and I'm using my brain all day in class and to do other things. But I'm going to read 50 pages a day. I'm going to try to read 50 pages a day. I may not succeed with that. That's another thing. I may get to a point in the semester where basically the Shakespeare read-along is all I'm reading. That may happen. I'm sort of half expecting it, half hoping it doesn't happen, trying to prepare myself for that possibility. I mean, I don't want it to happen, certainly, but it may. And I would be fine with that, personally. I would be fine with just doing a few months reading Shakespeare, nothing but Shakespeare and about Shakespeare. But, since starting this BookTube channel, I've really wanted to amp up the amount I read, so, but we'll see. I am, like I said, applying to PhD programs this semester. I have 2 very difficult classes that I'm taking. I'm taking a class on neuroscience, which is one of the things that really hurts my brain to learn about, even though it's so fascinating. I find it so difficult. And then I'm taking a social cognition class, which is social cognition is more my jam, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty rigorous class. And then I am also going to be proposing a master's thesis. I'm going to be doing some other research. So I'm going to have a lot, so I may just fall off the side of the world in terms of reading anything other than Shakespeare, and so, don't be surprised if that's really all I'm posting at some point, but I will try to make that not a thing. I will try to keep doing, at least, tags, maybe, or maybe just more kind of fun videos, like the bookshelf things. I don't know if I can think of any more to do of that, or like read poems, or I got an email from someone watching named Mike who asked me to read out more of my favorite quotes, so I might just post videos like that, which won't take me long and won't be that hard. I do want to do nonfiction November, so I hope, and if you've watched the haul that I did from Books from Home, um, I have a lot of nonfiction now to read, so I think doing that will be very good. Although I'm already reading some nonfiction, but in November I might. I mean, obviously I'll be continuing with the Shakespeare thing, but aside from that, I may try to read more nonfiction then, or nothing but nonfiction. So I'm hoping that happens, but we'll have to see. November does tend to be a tough month, but although October is the worst month, so hopefully by November, even if by then I haven't been reading as much, maybe I can add in some nonfiction. But we'll have to see. I don't want to be self-defeating in this regard, but I also don't want to, shoot for the stars and then end up totally crashing. Yeah, but anyway, because I do have a tendency to do that. So yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that. But yeah, that is what I have to say. I was also tagged by Municorn at the Bookish Land in the Read My Country tag, so I will be doing that sometime this week. I tried to do it yesterday, but I kept not really being happy with my answers, so I'll have to rethink it. But yeah, thank you guys. Bye!